without wasting more time, allow me now to quickly introduce our next speaker. This speaker is an inspiration to me personally, and I'm sure you also know this individual as a trailblazer in the academia. She is currently leading and spearheading the operationalization of the MSG, that is Malawi School, a large-scale complex merger of Parastatal Malawi Institute of Management and Government Department Staff Development Institute, ensuring organizational redesign, employee engagement, and the alignment of talent management strategies. Through this process, she has gained a deep understanding of the human side of change, particularly how organizational transformation intersects with talent development, culture building, and leadership alignment. Ladies and gentlemen, tackling supply chain talent management, developing and retaining talent in export-oriented supply chains. Help me to welcome Professor Asiyati Chiweza, Director General MSG. We can do better for the first female presenter this afternoon. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm looking at my watch. Is it afternoon or morning? Yeah, I was asked to talk about talent management, developing and retaining talent in production and export-oriented supply chain. And I also want, I think, to provide a disclaimer. Like Ron, I'm not a procurement specialist. And I'm also not a supply chain, analyst or specialist. But I'll talk about, talent development and retention. To look at the national export strategy, because this conference is looking at how to ensure that there's talent with respect to export, production, and supply. So as a country, we have a goal to achieve. And so even organizations, we have goals to achieve. So in terms of our national export strategy, the vision is to make Malawi a competitive, compliant, diversified, and sustained sourcing destination for quality goods and services. You see, mark the words that are coming through this vision. These are, some of the words that were used throughout, even the panel discussion by Ron and all the others. So sitting there, I found it very, interesting in terms of how all these discussions are connecting. So to make Malawi a competitive, compliant, diversified, and sustained sourcing destination for quality goods and services for the regional and global marketplace, and to increase exports from 14.6% to 20% of GDP by 2026. I'm not going to get into the diagnostics that Ron did excellently, and I think that has provided us with some kind of a background. Hey. Okay, I got it. I was wondering why it wasn't moving. Okay. Yeah. See, technology, sometimes what it does. Now, talent, I would like to say, is the cornerstone of a successful and resilient supply chain and organizational delivery. Because I'm talking about talent development, not in a vacuum, but to ensure organizational development. So my argument is that by investing in both development and retention, organizations in production and export-oriented industries can ensure sustained competitiveness in the global marketplace. This is my argument. And I'm also saying that supply chain talent, as well as procurement, talent, is a strategic asset the people are a strategic, asset, because the talent provides a competitive advantage, but also retention enhances resilience in terms of a stable workforce that's building institutional knowledge and mitigating risks from turnover. So focusing on development and retention is an important element of ensuring that the supply chain is actually effective, as well as procurement processes are effective. Now, there are global trends impacting talent development in purchasing and the supply. The first issue is the one to do with sustainability and ethical sourcing. Ron has done a good job on the sustainability, side. There's now a growing demand for sustainable and ethical sourcing practices, and this is shaping supply chain and procurement roles and skill requirements. So the basic point is that the demands out there, he was talking about the, commandments, the rules out there. They are also shaping procurement roles and skill requirements. Then you also have technological advances. And I landed on this report by the World Economic Forum, Future of the Jobs Report 2023, which is basically saying that about 50% of employees worldwide will be de-skilled in 2025. In other words, the technology advances are also having an impact on the skills that we do have right now, and the need for us to ensure that we relook at the skills that we have. So supply chain digitization, the increased use of digital tools, requiring procurement and supply professionals to be tech savvy. We just had a presentation from Legal Technologies telling us about digitization in as far as procurement is concerned. But also the regulatory, compliance. As global supply chains face heightened regulatory scrutiny, talent must stay on top of international and local trade and procurement laws and compliance standards. We have both local as well as international, standards that we have to comply with. Globally, those are some of the developments right now. So my reflections on this were that for us actually to remain on top of this, we need to adopt a holistic approach that includes talent identification, talent and capacity development, leveraging on technology, but also clear talent retention strategies. And I want to start with this in terms of talent identification in organizations. I acknowledge that change is inevitable for every organization at the moment because of what's happening locally as well as globally. Change is inevitable. And in the real world, organizations are constantly changing. And so what you find is that change management is also a key aspect in as far as talent identification in organizations is concerned. In the theory or discussions of talent identification, you also talk about talent that you can identify outside the organization. But I want to focus more on talent identification within the organizations. In the context of changes that are taking place, you find that there's need for innovation within an organization. But in reality, I like, this diagram, which I find to be very real, in organizations. When you're talking about talent and where you identify that talent, it is important to understand this, idea that's being presented here, that not everyone, is for change. Not everyone will go for innovation. So what I found intriguing is that in an organization, about 2.5% are those that will embrace innovation. About 13.5% are the early adopters. And then you have another, majority, about 34%. You know, there's a distinction between the early adopters, innovators, and this early majority. There's the late majority, and then the laggards. The laggards will say, if they must stand. The others, 34% will say, you know, these innovations that we want to undertake. In other words, what I'm trying to say here is that within any organization, you have talent with positive energy. And you also have talent with negative energy. You know, these days we say negative vibes, positive, vibes. So, but you can find talent among the 2.5%. You can also find talent in the 16%, the laggards. You can also find talent in the late majority and the early majority that's saying, the issue is, how do you ensure that you work with the 2.5% so that the 2.5% can pull the talent that is in the 13.5%, 34%, and the 16%, the talent identification within an organization. So the key issue is, how do you hold on to the 2.5%? That's the first area that you begin to work with, so that the 2.5% can then move to capture, the talent that is in the 13.5% and also eventually in the 16%. Now, the authors of this article were basically saying that in the first few years, don't waste too much time with the 16%, with the laggards, because you spend all your effort with the laggards and nothing will be achieved. So even in supply, chain, as well as procurement, you have people that are very talented, but they are within the 16%. So there are those with positive energy and others with negative energy. At the same time, the best professionals are in high demand. How then do you ensure talent identification? My thinking is that a lot of the work that we do, we focus on individuals when it comes to talent, development, talent identification. So we focus on individuals. We encourage individuals to go for certificates, which is good actually. We focus on individuals to get advanced degrees. So the world glorifies individuals and it claps hands for individuals. That's why we all go out there to look for individuals who are talented. But I think for organizations to be effective, think plural rather than singular. Collectivity other than individualism. Yes, build the individuals, but think plural and collectivity. Build teams and gamification. Identify a talent pipeline. So in terms of talent identification, identify a pipeline. Focus less on individuals and more on creating a team that can deliver. So in practical terms, what this means is that the focus is not just on the procurement department. The focus is not just on the supply chain, specialists and their respective, but focus on the organization, building teams, connecting the procurement department and the supply chain specialists with the other department. And of course, adding game mechanics to increase employee participation and engagement to inspire collaboration, sharing, and interaction. The experiences that most CEOs come across is that when you focus on only one department or individuals, if that department or the individuals are not working effectively, you find that strategy implementation gets affected. The other aspect from my reflections is that this capacity that you should be looking at is to ensure competence for regulatory compliance and sustainability, thinking beyond the supply chain sphere to delivery of organizational targets. And speed should be the focus of the competence, based turnaround time and quality. If you talk to a lot of CEOs in both the public sector and the private sector, one of their key worries is about how procurement and supply chain can enable them to deliver on the targets of the organization. So you find that by focusing on individual departments or focusing on the talent within individual departments other than teams, sometimes you find that one area is actually pulling down the whole organization. So thinking beyond the supply chain sphere or the procurement sphere to delivery of organizational targets. So this talent we are talking about is how it can facilitate achievement of organizational targets with speed. The world today is very complex and competitive. Speed is an important element in procurement as well as supply chain. Not only speed, but also quality. There are many stories, around, and you know them very well about quality. You get, a laptop supplied through the system, the procurement system, and another one that you go to game, to buy. A laptop that you get through the procurement system lasts you 5 weeks. Another laptop that you get from game stores lasts you 5 years, 4 years. And you say, what is going on? What is happening? So we're talking about talent, development that will ensure competencies, speed, best turnaround time, and also, quality is an important element. So in terms of this, then, it is important to invest in continuous learning and upskilling, targeting training programs, developing procurement and logistics skills through tailored training and certifications. It is also important to foster soft skills like supplier negotiation, relationship management, strategic and analytical thinking that connects the thinking of individual procurement officer, supply chain, analysts to the strategic goals of the organization. So that the strategic goals of the organization, they are also owned by individuals in supply chain as well as procurement. It is also important to focus on cross-functional development to encourage employees to gain exposure to various parts of the supply chain to unlock their potential and improve their versatility, but also to leverage industry strategy, provide employees with opportunities to achieve professional certifications in purchasing and supply, and I think which is what we are doing, right now. I understand that you do get, I think, some credits when you attend a session like this one. It is important actually to do that, but also I think to focus on areas that have to do with international compliance as well as sustainability, standards. These are very key, right now. A few weeks ago, we attended an internal audit, forum. Sustainability standards have also become a key element of auditing. So that when you're talking about talent development, continuous learning and upskilling, it is important that procurement professionals, supply chain professionals begin to look at what are the international compliance and sustainability standards. What are the local compliance standards that we have to develop and adhere to? The other aspect is leveraging technology for talent development. I do not think that I can emphasize this more because it keeps coming out, throughout. Digital procurement tools, invest in training employees to use e-procurement platforms, supply chain management software, and data analytics tools. These are the things that are coming up, every day. Online learning and certification, utilizing e-learning platforms for continuous education, allowing employees to upgrade their skills, on the job. Beyond the issue of, degrees, other certificates, there's a lot of learning actually on the job in order to improve skills on the job. Automation and AI, AI has come, and is there to stay. There's a lot that AI is actually doing, helping employees to adapt to automation in inventory management, supplier performance tracking, and demand forecasting tasks. Some of these things which we were doing, manually, they are now part, of the technology advancement that we cannot do without. So part of talent development is to look at how to leverage, technology in the process. And then the whole issue of talent retention, competitive compensation. These are things that we have been talking about, all the time. Competitive compensation, offering industry standard salaries and benefits that attract and retain skilled professionals. And sometimes this may be a challenge. And this is the reason why a focus on a cross-functional, departments, but also a focus on teams other than individuals is actually important. Because an individual can actually decide to go for greener pastures, can leave your organization today or tomorrow while you are in a big process, in a very big process of procurement or supply, chain. So it is important that while this is, an area, but it also has challenges. Career progression pathways, ensuring that employees from junior buyers to senior procurement leaders to supply chain analysts, they're able to see a clear, attainable opportunity for growth, but also workplace flexibility. And this has come actually to stay when you consider the pandemics that we have had in Malawi, but also globally. And because of the pandemics, now you talk about working from home. And this is an important element when it comes to procurement or supply chain, because now we talk about the need to incorporate digital tools that enable remote work, that enable individuals to be working even while you are here, while you've left your offices, but you can be able to utilize, digital tools. You can be able to utilize digital tools from home. So these are some of the elements that have come over the years with the pandemics. There's also the issue of employee engagement and recognition, establishing a balanced performance management system. We talk about performance management systems all the time, but having one that is balanced is important, because a balanced one regularly recognizes and rewards high-performing staff for their contributions, increasing their loyalty and satisfaction, but also it sanctions poor performance. And this is an area that's sometimes very difficult in our context. We tend to focus more on one side, on the rewards, but on the other side, to sanction poor performance. I don't know whether this is something to do with our culture. Sometimes we do not want to be seen that, oh, I'm the one who has recommended for discipline. I'm the one who has recommended a demotion. I'm the one who has, there's something to do with our culture, but one side of the coin is never going to work. So my conclusion is that for production and export-oriented supply chains to be successful in the competitive global world, talent management should go beyond a focus on individuals to building teams that can deliver with compliance, speed, efficiency, and quality with the best turnaround time. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much. Let's give another round of applause for Professor Asiyati Chiweza. Very straight to the point and very, very clear. We really appreciate your presentation and sharing your wisdom. There is a token of appreciation to be given to you. I would like at this moment to invite the board chairperson of MIPS to please give that presentation.